Joining us now is Phoebe Arslanagic. She is the Senior Research Fellow at Bright Blue. So let's start off then with this latest report, just in terms of, not going far enough in trying to bring down these variations.
Yes, I mean, your analysis has found that regional inequalities are not improving. And it does very much feel that we're still waiting for more detail on levelling up, how it will substantively address those regional inequalities. We had the Queen's speech on Tuesday, which did include the Levelling Up and Regeneration Bill. That did add some detail, predominantly through targets to reduce regional divides by 2030. But it's hard to see how that sort of policy can actually begin to deliver the transformational change that the Tories need to before the next election if they're not to be punished at the ballot box.
Yeah, and the thing is, we've been talking about, the levelling up agenda for 2 years. So in some ways, it's quite shocking that the metrics are not there, even if, the progress takes a great deal longer. It's the thinking behind the slogan in some ways that needs, a lot of work.
Yes, absolutely. And currently, the Tories aren't actually delivering a coherent longer-term vision. They've been relying on levelling up. The detail isn't coming through. And in the public's view, in a much more immediate way, they're also not responding to the cost of living crisis, which is currently hitting everyone's pockets very hard and doesn't look to resolve itself.
What is your sense that we could get from Rishi Sunak here in terms of potentially another package, which is what some of the FT reporting is suggesting this morning?
Yes, so currently there's no substantive policy to improve incomes or protect living standards. The public know that. And there is now talk that Sunak might use tax cuts to assist with the cost of living crisis. I mean, tax cuts won't support those on very low earnings. Instead, other tools need to come into play, such as the uprating of universal credit. That's what's needed to prevent people from slipping into poverty. But the Treasury has now dampened down rumours about tax cuts, and we still just don't know what the plan is policy-wise. The opposition is pushing for an emergency budget, but that was rejected very strongly by Gove yesterday, who simply said the government will be saying and doing more. But detail really is necessary. Autumn's approaching. The energy price gap is going to rise again.
I'm fascinated to hear your criticism, Phoebe. I mean, Bright Blue is, a conservative-leaning think tank, is it not? But the criticism of the government seems reasonably harsh. I mean, surely they would say that the 2 years of the pandemic has made these kind of big policy decisions quite difficult.
Yes, that's true. I mean, it has. And the public, I think, is understanding that we've had the pandemic. We've had Russia's invasion of Ukraine. To some extent, some of what's happening economically is beyond the government's control. I mean, with inflation, for example, that's being driven by international political and economic forces. The war in Ukraine is disrupting food supplies. China's zero COVID policy is stymieing supply chains. But actually what Bright Blue would like to see from the government is targeted support to help the poorest who are in danger of slipping further into poverty.
Okay, Phoebe, thank you so much for being with us. Phoebe Arslanagic-Wakefield is Senior Research Fellow at Bright Blue, Conservative think tank. Her thoughts and Bright Blue's thoughts on government policy